Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to get you informed, fast, cutting through the noise. Today, we're looking at a really compelling opinion piece. It's from the Faroes newspaper, vp.fo, dated August 23, 2025. And it really unpacks the Faroe Islands' complex situation geopolitically, economically, especially thinking about Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Absolutely.
our mission really is to explore how these things intersect, historical agreements, economic pragmatism, current tensions. It gives you some, I think, fascinating insights into the balancing act a small nation has to perform, basically balancing principles and, well, survival.
Okay, so let's jump right into the core argument then. The author, they take a really strong stance here. They argue against the Faroes government taking a confrontational stance towards Russia right now. The comparison used is pretty vivid, a flea barking.
Right. That imagery, it's designed to hit home, isn't it? It sort of frames the author's challenge.
Yeah.
What leverage does a nation that size actually have?
Exactly. How much political bark, does a nation of just 50,000 people realistically have in a huge geopolitical conflict like this?
And the author follows that up with a direct warning. Doesn't just leave it at the image. Warns against biting the hand that feeds you. Which isn't just talk. It's tied to some very significant economic figures.
Yeah, let's put those numbers out there for you, the listener. Consider the stakes. The Faroe Islands could lose 1.2 billion Danish kroner, that's DKK, every year in pelagic fish exports. Plus another, roughly 500 million DKK from cod and shrimp in the Barents Sea?
Huge numbers for them.
Absolutely huge. The author flat out says losing that would be financial suicide. For a nation of only 50,000 people, you can see why.
And that warning, that financial suicide phrase, it gains even more weight when the author brings up double standards, pointing out that, bigger players like EU countries, they're still buying billions worth of oil from Russia, and they're certainly not asking the Faroe Islands for permission first.
Right. And let's not forget, the EU itself had a month-long trade war against the Faroes in the past.
So it raises this important question, doesn't it? Why should a small nation carry a disproportionate burden based purely on principles when others act differently?
But this kind of dilemma, this balancing act, it's not entirely new for the Faroes. The author actually takes us back to 1977, a really pivotal moment. This fishing agreement with the Soviet Union, and Norway was involved too.
Ah, yes, the Ishkov visit. Alexander Ishkov, who's seen then as maybe the world's most powerful fisheries minister, visiting the Faroes
Quite something.
and connecting that history to now. It shows just how vital that agreement was back then. It came out of this real fear of losing their free fishing rights in the North Atlantic, being stuck in what the author calls a small aquarium.
A small aquarium, yeah.
And the piece argues that deal with the Soviets specifically was essential, that Norway on its own probably wouldn't have offered the same benefits.
And politically, think about it. The Soviet Union back then, under leaders like Stalin, the author even notes Stalin killed millions of his own people. That regime was arguably seen as a much bigger threat to world peace than Russia is today.
A very stark point the author makes.
Yet even then, economic pragmatism seems to have won the day. That guided their policy.
So how did that economic pragmatism shape things moving forward? What does the journey look like today?
Well, the article traces the economy from '77, when it was really dependent on stretching fishing limits, plus significant Danish state support. About 1 billion DKK a year back then. Then through a big financial crash in 1992, all the way to its current strength.
And what's really striking is the transformation, especially after 2010, it's been driven hugely by aquaculture, fish farming. That's now generating, 7 billion DKK in export value? Massive.
Alongside the pelagic fisheries, yeah.
So when the author says aquaculture owns our lives, it's not just a phrase. It feels like it paints a picture of a nation whose survival, whose food security is tied so tightly to this one industry.
Makes any economic threat feel incredibly personal, right?
Absolutely.
And even the Danish block grant, that state support, tells a story. It's still 600 million DKK, but proportionally, it's shrunk massively from 40% of the national budget back in 2002 down to just 8% today.
Shows a huge increase in self-sufficiency.
Exactly. And all this context, this economic reality, underpins the author's really strong argument that challenging Russia now is, quote, irresponsible, given these huge economic stakes. So there you have it. A detailed look at this perspective from vp.fo on the Faroe Islands' very delicate balancing act, economics versus international politics.
Yeah, and it really prompts us to ask, doesn't it, for any nation, but especially a small one, When do economic realities, when does historical precedent sort of dictate a more pragmatic foreign policy, maybe over a purely principled one, particularly when, the bigger global players seem to be playing by different rules?
It's definitely a complex dance. Ongoing between self-interest, history, and those ever-shifting sands of global power. Something for you to mull over, perhaps, as you think about the unique challenges facing small nations in our world today.